Ooh. Hello. My name's Quinlan. That opening solo was carrying on a little bit from last week's episode, all about pointillism, short and sharp and all this. That wasn't so short and sharp, but it was still a bit weird by some people's standards. It's a classical percussion piece. I did improvise it. But what I do sometimes with my music is that I'll improvise something. This is something Mozart used to do. And he would improvise, I would improvise, and then if there was a certain snippet that, oh, that's a keeper, I'll keep that, you would go back and notate it out. Now what I did last episode was take the internet sensation, the crying politician. He's gone a little bit viral on the internet, and a complete meltdown when he was making his confession about rorting, a fair bit of money and all that. And in amongst his crying and his jabbering and screaming and all that sort of stuff, I notated it. And what a lot of classical composers do is actually notate things from nature. I mentioned Olivier Messiaen last episode, and he would notate the rhythm of bird song, bird singing. You give yourself a tempo, and then cheep cheep, cheep 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 cheep. Sounds crazy, but it happens. And last week I went to great pains to say that we do this all the time, or we listen to it all the time when you're listening to any kind of movie soundtrack, and particularly any kind of cartoons, okay? Especially the Bugs Bunny era, Merry Melodies throughout the 40s, 50s and 60s. There was a golden time, Daffy Duck and Elmer Fudd and all of that sort of stuff. And the musician there, the composer, was Carl Stalling, and all these things, the rhythms that went down, the work that they must have put in for Carl Stalling to watch a cartoon, watch Wile E. Coyote run into a brick wall or something like that, and then go boom right on that beat, and then leading up to it, and then of course afterwards wah 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 and all this sort of stuff. Now if that's got a beat, a constant crotchet 1, 2, 3, 4, you can start to take various things. DJs often do it too. I mean, one of the things is one of the first times I heard about it being done was the old country singers when they jump a freight train. Johnny Cash with his train rhythm. He plays guitar to the sound of a freight train, going over the tracks. The Bee Gees, just before they got really famous with Saturday Night Fever, the album before Saturday Night Fever in the 70s was an album called Mr. Natural. Here I am being thought of as a prog head and a Zappa dude and Jethro Tull Tragic and stuff, and here I'm talking about the Bee Gees, mid-70s, with the zoot suits and stuff. But one of the things I always remember was Barry Gibb talking about how they were in their limo going across the Brooklyn Bridge, and they were going chuck 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 and the rhythm was, they started singing in the limo. And I thought, how clever. I don't like them very much. I'm a Jethro Tull man here in 1975, and Led Zeppelin and Sabbath. I'd rather listen to Sabotage, Black Sabbath Sabotage, than I would Bee Gees' Mr. Natural. But I just had to hand it to them, the fact that they were able to harmonise and get a whole melody in their big hit single of the time to just a rhythm of an everyday thing, driving across a bridge. We would do it over the Westgate, except I don't know if it would be so rhythmic. Note to self. But if you're getting things like that, you get that. And something like that. And there was a band that I really liked when I was coming up in my teens, and I got into a bit of the old avant-garde jazz there for a while, Cecil Taylor and Anthony Braxton and people like that. And there was a band being led by a great saxophone player, but right out there, Henry Threadgill, and his band Air. And they put out an album called Open Air Suit. And I used to mispronounce it for a while. It was Open Air Suite, I thought it was. But then I looked at the album one day and there was no E on the end, so it's got Open Air Suit. And it was all based on games of cards. And you'd flick your cards out and the Musos would play, the figures according to the cards that they were dealt. So it was a little bit random and all that. But what I loved about the opening part of that album, I've got it out there on vinyl sort of thing, quite old now, but you get... like that. And that comes down to a little bit of a something that I explain to some of my more advanced students about time and all that. If I was just to go, count in a tune and just go a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Okay. What happens is that for a lot of you out there, you might have heard me just be silent for a while. That may be a good thing. And for others, you can hear the tempo clicking away. Like one of the things I used to tell guys in the bands that I've been in, especially when they're playing, when we were playing more difficult stuff, like Frank Zappa stuff and all that, and everything was all in unison. We were playing, what I was playing on the drums was exactly the stuff that was being played on the keyboards and the guitar, so we had to be that tight, that kind of thing. The old instrumental from the 90s. And I said to him, if you ever see me doing this, like that, I'm not doing Stevie Wonder impersonations, I'm trying to find the page that I've memorized, especially with the black page and things like that. So many notes to remember, all being played by the whole band and all that. So, I did my best to memorize everything. So if you ever saw me go... I can see it. I can see it. I suppose that's... I don't have the best of memories, but I do my best with what I've got. And that's what I do with this kind of stuff. Once I hear a tempo, 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. I can hear it bouncing along, even though there's just the hiss of my mixing deck. Now, I started that out with 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Bit of crosstalk here. I don't mind that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. More of this after some kind of break, and I'll be with you shortly. Okay.